My name is Johnson Bastion, better known as Johnny B. from the Quinault Indian Reservation. But I was raised in Westport, Washington with my grandfather on a trolling boat. And the story I'm about to give comes from my grandfather. His dad was Joseph George, and I was named after my grandfather, Johnson George. Joseph is in the history books of Washington for Indians. He was a boat builder. He built many trolling boats, crab boats, fishing boats, some boats that are still in service or still fishing. In all the years that I fished with my grandfather, the old tradition was the oldest child of my grandfather's oldest son would go to him at the age of 4. That was traditional back in the day. I went to my grandfather when I was 4 years old. I was raised on a trolling boat named the Jerry E. out of Westport. I went to Acosta, the only Indian on the football team there. Played against Mocops and most of the guys from Tahola. The story I'm about to give is my grandfather told me while on the trolling boat. It was about the paddle, the canoes, the ocean canoes. It was always part of the Indian life, and each tribe has their story about the paddle, about the ocean-going canoes. Some of them used them for whale hunting, some of them for seals. And every year, it was not very uncommon to see a caravan of ocean-going canoes going along the coast here. And in every village they would go by, they would pick up 1 or 2, 3 canoes. They were heading to the mouth of the Columbia River during the spring salmon season, where they all gathered and they all fished there. They would stop where the Quinault Beach Resort Casino is now, which was called the Hospitality Camp, where a lot of the Quinault ladies were down there gathering up beach grass and clam digging and all this stuff, picking berries, strawberries, many strawberries we had on our beaches. And they would feed all the people going by. That's why they called it the hospitality area. That's where the Quinault Beach Resort Casino is. This was told by one of our elders, Hazel Smith, and then my grandfather would tell me about these canoes. They would all gather at the mouth of the Columbia spring salmon season. And a lot of the natives from inland would come down, and they all had horses, and the other ones would come in on canoes, ocean canoes. And they would have a potlatch, what they call powwows now or whatever, you know. And sometimes they would gather down there from anywhere from a week to months, depending on the business. And they would seine this spring salmon, like we used to seine the smelts in the whole river. The smelts, you'd take your net, one of the big ocean canoes would take the net out and string it out like that, come back in, they would hook it up to these horses and pull them in. I had pictures of all these spring salmon on the beach. And all the different natives from different tribes would gather what they needed. Nothing went to waste. They would either dry them, smoke them, or have them at a feast at that time. And they would all do business at the same time. They called the potlatch. And they would select 3 leaders from different tribes to be more or less like judges. And if there was any crimes committed to different tribes or within your own tribe, they were punished at that time. They were brought down for trial, more or less, or hearing. And if you committed a serious crime such as murder or rape or even incest, they would cut off your head and they would put it in the middle of that potlatch. And that was the punishment you're going to get. And it really eliminated a lot of the crimes in the tribes. I could see why, but after the potlatches would be over, they would all bid their farewells, and you would see a caravan of canoes going back home, each one. And the reason for to call in to identify yourself from each village that you come in. Sometimes they would stop different villages to more or less what they called refuel, and that was to rest, eat, and get the sleep they needed to carry on to their own tribe. Is that a lot of times some of the other tribes would come in and raid different villages and take all their possessions, plus they would steal their women. This is a story my grandfather told me. And it's something that I've always remembered, because even though they took our language away into different schools, a lot of my friends, my cousins, my nephews, my relations went to Quinault and different schools. I had to stay with my grandfather, and I felt bad about it. But he wanted me to learn all the trades I could. He wanted me to get my education and learn all the job skills I could, because he told me in 1948, when I was 10 years old, that time to come, there ain't going to be hardly any fish left, and they'll be fighting over it. And that come to pass. My grandfather prophesied the same day, the day that Mount St. Helens would erupt, even the time. So a lot of our older members, they would prophesize events that happen today. So that's my story.